Hey guys, and welcome to my lesson about HTML. So today we're going to be going over what HTML is and how to use it and stuff like that. So let's get started. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's used to create the structure of your website, the layout of your website, without any styling or anything. You can think of it as like the backbone of your website, and it utilizes tags to create your websites by essentially creating components, I guess. Uh, and these tags make up elements throughout your site. And here's a little picture that I liked. So you can think of HTML as being, like I said, the bones of your body, um, and then like animation and how your website uh, interacts with the user and such and stuff like that. That can be thought of the JavaScript portion of it. Um, and then the CSS is how you dress the website, so how the website looks and stuff. So just so you guys can get a slight visual, I like that picture. So um, here's an example that I just did, just to show you guys um, of how to write like a very basic web page. So here you'll see in the screenshot on the left, you'll see that there's the doc type declaration. So what that does is it just defines that this document is an HTML document. Um, so you don't need that, but it's like your website will still work without that, but it's pretty standard to have that on there. Um, and then next you'll see that there's the HTML tag. Let me get a laser pointer. Does that work? Yeah. So now you'll see that there's this HTML tag right here. And what that does is it tells the web page that this is the root of your page. Like this is where your page essentially begins. Then you'll see that there's the head and the body that comes after that, and they're both on the same level. Um, and the head contains any like metadata information about the HTML page, so it can contain like title, it can contain style sheets or the style tag. It can contain script JavaScript files or just script tags and a whole bunch of other like metadata for your website. And within the head tag, you'll see that I have the title. So I named this web page your page title here. So I actually cut this screenshot short, but if you were to open this up with something with a title like this, in the title of on the tab of Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using, like in the window, um, you will see that it says this, your page title here. And then if we continue going down, we'll see the body tag. So all of these, by the way, are tags. This uh, uh, brackets, I guess, and then title. This is a tag. And then from here, from the beginning, from the less than all the way to here, this is an entire element. So just so you guys know, a tag is just simply this, and then an element is everything within it, including the tag. So like for instance, like from here to here, the element is the head, the head tag, the title tag, and the closing head tag. This is all one element if you think about it like that. This from the title to the title, this is all one element as well. And you can select elements and stuff, but we'll go over that later on in our Java script portion of it. So anyway, so the body tag, it defines what the body of your page is. It's essentially the content of your website, of your page, of your web page. And it's a container for everything that's on your website, whether it's hidden or visible. And you can put anything you want in here. Like for instance, I put like a header tag, and then I have like a paragraph tag in here, and then this is how it kind of looks when you render that HTML in a browser. So yeah, so and we'll go over these in a minute about these tags. So let's continue. So here's some tags that make up a website. I listed the most popular ones that I frequently use myself. Now there's a whole bunch of other ones that are available, but and if you're interested in using any of them, you can visit some websites that I can post later to just familiarize with yourself with them. But these are some pretty popular ones. So I'll go over these. Yeah, so the P tag is a paragraph tag. And by the way, when I'll go over these right now in the slides, and then later on I'll show you guys how to actually utilize them. We'll do a little coding session. So the P tags is essentially like a paragraph tag. You can think of this, it's similar to like how Microsoft Word does it. Like when you just open up Microsoft Word and you start typing, it creates a tag or a paragraph tag within your document. So this does the same thing, and you'll see in an example that I'll do later. But it's a paragraph tag, and it's used to create paragraphs. The div tag is a division tag, and it's often used for as a container that contains other elements. So you can create a div tag, and within that div tag, you can have lists, you can have paragraphs, you can have plain text, images, doesn't matter. But they're used for containers. And it can be styled, and the one thing about it is that it's considered a block element. And what that means is that it will take up the entire width of the container its container that it's in, and it will place line breaks at the beginning and at the end of that div. Next is a span. A span is very similar to a div, but it's an inline element instead of a block element. And so this is very useful for styling like specific things within, like, let's say a sentence. So you write a sentence and you want to say something like, "Hello world, this is Gaston," and you want to style specifically the word world. Well, then you can put the word world inside of the span tag, and you could do some cool stylings with it. And since it's an inline element, it doesn't actually consume the entire width. And then we got the UL, OL, and LI. So, and all these kind of come, they're related to each other. So, UL is an unordered list, which by default it creates like a bullet pointed list. And I believe that you can actually change it from being a bullet point to other stuff, and you can do that with stylings. And then OL, this is an ordered list, and by default this creates like a numbered list, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, it's all similar to how you would do that in Microsoft Word. LI, this is a list item, and the list item, the LI tag, goes within the UL or the OL tags, And what this does is it tells the web page that you have an item within that list. So a list item can be, yeah, so you can have a list item that's like a list of people or places or whatever. So if you actually take a look at this slide, for example, um, I have two uh, unordered list items. So again, this is unordered list item, ordered list item, or unordered list, ordered list, and then list item. And so if you think about it, I have here two unordered lists in this slide, right? So I have this, which is an unordered list, and I can have um, many of these lists, many of these items. So I can have another bullet point right here with this. And then within it, I have another unordered list item. And each one of these things is a list item. I have uh, a unordered list, and each one of these is a list item. Each one of these bullet points. So hopefully you understand what an unordered list is, an ordered list, and a list item. So, and then we have header tags. So headers are, if we go back to this slide, you can see here that I used an H1 header. So you can see that this is bigger and bolded. So there are 6 different types of header tags that you can use. H1 is the biggest and H6 is the smallest. Yeah, so that's that. Then we got the B tag, which is bold. It's for creating bold text, and it's used for styling something specifically as bold. Then you got the I tag, which is used for creating like italic text. And then you got EM and strong. These are very similar to bold and italics, with a major difference though, which screen readers that like speak to you out loud, for people who might be visually impaired. If you use EM tag or strong tags, the screen reader will actually pick this up and it'll emphasize. So EM stands for an emphasis, and it's usually rendered by most browsers that I know as italicized. Um, and So it's a good idea to usually use EM if you're thinking about using I. And then for strong, this is used for creating a strong emphasis, and it's also picked up by screen readers, and again, it's rendered by most browsers as bold. So you should try and use strong where you can instead of B. The A tag is used for creating like hyperlinks. So you can create links to like other websites or an email, or you can even target a specific location on your website so that when a user clicks on it, when a user clicks on the link, it like jumps them to a different part of your web page, of the same web page. An image tag is used for placing images onto your website. And then a BR tag is used for creating line breaks and essentially moving to a new line in the document in your web page. And so within the tags, you actually can do attributes. And so I listed here some common attributes that I've used in the past, and that a lot of people use. The first one is ID. So an ID is an attribute that's, an ID, a unique identifier. Um, Multiple elements on the page should not have the same ID. So these are very useful if you're trying to control specific things on your web page, using like JavaScript or something, or jQuery. And you could target that element specifically by using its ID within JavaScript. The style attribute, that gives the element its look. So you can decide between like various things such as like background color, the font size, the weight of the font, etc. With a style tag or attribute, and it's how you create it's how you dress your website. Although it's better practice to use a class attribute instead. So with a class attribute, it's the same thing as a style, in a sense that it gives the element its look. But the difference is that the class tag is a group of different styles. It's like you can do the background and the font size of your element in one class. Instead of typing out a whole long row, you just identify that in one class. You put that class on the element, and you're good to go. The element takes that style. And the good thing about using classes is that it's easily reusable between different elements, and it just makes your HTML code cleaner and easier to read in general. The source attribute, so that can be used in an image tag and in an input tag to specify a location of an image. If you have an image on your that you're hosting on your website and you want to present that on your web page, you would use a source tag, and you would essentially tell the source tag where the path is onto your web page. So we'll go over that in a little bit. Then there's a title attribute, which is used to provide more information about the element, and it's shown as a tooltip when you hover your mouse over it. So if you use the title attribute and you say like title equals, I don't know, hello world. So whenever a user hovers over that element for a few seconds, it'll actually pop up a little tooltip that says hello world. And href is used to specify a link's destination. So this is like a way when someone like clicks on one of your links, they are redirected to where you want them to go. And this can also be used, as I said, to navigate to a specific section of your page. I believe that was with by utilizing the ID, yeah, and with the A tag. Okay, so tables and so tables. Tables are pretty useful for in HTML to present the user with a bunch of data. You can specify like table headers and the table body in your HTML code, but this isn't required. The positive thing about utilizing the t-head and t-body is that it lets the screen readers know that they're reading it, what they're reading, and it's not just a giant list of rows. So again, if you want to make your website accessible like that, then you would want to use t-head and t-body and stuff like that. But just know that you don't have to, because it will still display the same. So here I have a little example. So here's how you create a table. So you just give it a tag of table. Notice I have an open tag and a close tag over here, and then within that is the t-head. And what this is saying is that this is where the table header begins. And within that, you have TR. TR means table row. And so for every row in your table that you have to specify TR. And then within that, within a row, you have columns. And so TH specifies that this is a column, but it's a header column. So for instance, here I have th of name and th of grade. And notice I have th, and then I end with this th here for where I want the column to the column header to stop. Then I close it off with a t head here, and then I begin the t body. And notice the t body here on the bottom. And same thing, tr for table row. So here I'm creating a new row, and within that row I'm assigning it two columns. Now that's because I created two columns here, so you have to have the same amount of columns throughout the table like that. So you'll notice I have two columns here and two columns here, and this is a new row as well. And this is kind of so. And before we look at this, so I want you guys to look at this. That I didn't specify t head or t body here, but it still knows that this is a header. And how does it know that it's a header? Because I specified th right here. And notice that right here, it's actually td and not th. td just means that it's a column. And here's an example. So this top table is this one, and this bottom table right here is this one. So you can see that they look the same, even though they don't have, this one doesn't have the t head and t body, and this one does. And you can kind of see how it's laid it out. So and then another important thing with HTML is inputs. So you have a ton of inputs, and I think that this might only be a few. So I'm going to go over these and just kind of explain them, but I think you guys would understand it better when I show it. So the email type, so these are called types. And this is how you write it. So the way that we wrote like the table and header and tr, you would write this the same. So input, but then this is called with the attribute type, and then the value in that attribute would be email, URL, number, blah 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 blah. So just so you guys know how that's written. So the email type allows the emails to be entered into the text box. And the cool thing about it is that it automatically does a validation on the email address once the form is submitted. And then for URL, so the URL type allows the user to enter in a URL, and it does an automatic validation when the form is submitted. So it'll make sure that it's a properly formatted URL. The number type restricts the user to only be allowed to enter numbers. The range creates a slider in which the user can slide. I mean, that's pretty simple. And you're able to specify the min and the max attribute, which controls the range of the slider. So if you move the slider all the way to the right, it goes to the max. And if you move it all the way to the left, it goes to the min value that you set. And the date type, that allows the user to click on the element. So it looks like a text box almost. And it allows the user to select a date from a calendar. And you can also use date time dash, instead of date, you can use date time dash local to have the user specify a date and time, or just do a time type instead of date, which allows the user to only specify a time if that's what you're trying to do in your website. The search type is very similar to text inputs, but they're designed for the user to enter like search queries into them. Color type is used to help the user select a color from a nice color menu. So that's very nice. It can return to you the color that the user selected if you're doing anything with colors. A checkbox is just a checkbox which when a user clicks, it checks it. and the thing about checkboxes is multiple checkboxes can be selected at once. And then you get the radio button. The radio button is similar to a checkbox, but only one radio button can be selected at a time within one radio button group. And then you get the text type, which is used to allow the user to enter in information that is text-based, such as like a name or something, or an address. You can use it for a lot of things. The submit type is a button. What that does is it creates a button that is specifically used to submit a form to the server. And we'll go over forms in a sec. And then the button type is a button that doesn't submit anything to the server, but you can click it and you can create like interactions with it using JavaScript. So that's very nice if you're trying to not submit a form. And the input type of image is used to display images. So it's very similar to the image tag that I showed previously, except that it allows a few more attributes. Password type, this is very useful, and you'll want to use this for when you create your login form. So the password type is used to like mask the password within a text box. It's just a text box with a mask, and it like creates little dots so that the user can't see the text within it, and so other people around can't see it either. And then forms. Forms are used to collect data from a user, and the data is then sent to the server when the user clicks submit, and it's sent to the server, and the server processes that data. And by default, forms utilize the post request method, but you can also specify them to use the get request method. So, for example, in a form would be a username and password for a login screen. You would have the username text box and the password text box, and a sign-in button or log in, and that would be your form. Or if the user is logged in and the user wants to change their profile information, such as their name and email and blah 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 blah, you would create a form. You would put all that under a form tag, and that would be your form. And then you would create a text box that says name, another text box that for with an email type, an input with an email type for email, and then you could have the user even change the password. So you would put 2 password inputs in there, so that the user can type in their new, or 3 password inputs, one for typing in their current password to validate that they are who they are, and 2 other ones, one for typing in their new password, and the second one for verifying that that the password matches, that they know what new password they're typing, to validate it, and all that. Then you would have the submit button, and then all that would be within a form tag, and then when the user hits submit, it sends that information over to the server for the user to change that information. So that is it for this. So let's go over some examples of all of this. So here we go. To begin, I'm going to be using, I'm just going to be creating, so I'm going to right click on my desktop, go to new, and just go ahead and create a new text file. I'm going to name this index.html. Now you can name it whatever, just make sure that you have .html at the end. Click enter, and then this pops up. Click yes. And then I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to open it up with Notepad++. So here we go. So let's go over some stuff that we went over. So as I mentioned, you have to start your page with the doc type. So we'll do doc type HTML. And this you don't have to close off. You just do it like that. Now we want to do an HTML tag. And then we have to close that HTML tag. And then in here we'll want to do something like head. Let's do title. So let's demonstrate what I showed earlier. So my title. So there is that. And then let's do a body. And let's close off the body like that. Hit tab to go in one more. Create some empty space there. And so let's just go through some elements that we went over. So paragraph. Let's close the tag. We'll have plain text. I'm plain text. And then we'll do a BR tag here for a line break. We'll say hello world. My name is Gaston. And let's do a span here. So what this will do is it'll allow us in the future when we want to style this, we'll be able to actually style this by getting ahead here, but we'll be able to do something like this and then give it like color red. And so what this will do is it'll make just the word world color red. And I'll actually leave that here for now just so you guys can understand what span does. And then you got, your unordered list. We'll just do unordered list for now. And then you have a list item of, I don't know, let's do animals. So dog. Let's do another item of cat. Let's do mouse. I think that's good. We'll probably need a BR tag here. And so let's do a div here. Let's do paragraph. And then let's do I am bold. So we're using the B tag here for bold. I notice that I'm using P and then B, and so I have to close it off just the same. You can't do this. You have to do it in the same. You have to reverse the order that you did this in. So just make sure that you do that. So first B and then P. And then let's do strong. I am strong. And then let's do let's do an emphasis. Let's do a link. So what this pound sign does, the hash, is it makes it so when you click it, nothing happens. So I am a link, and then we have to close off this A tag too. Let's see if I can find. Let's see if I can find an image on Google for a smiley face. Okay, so I found an image on Google for a smiley face. So we'll do an image now. So check out my image. Let's do a header first, and then let's do maybe a little subheader. Let's see how 3 looks. It's really cool. And close it off, header 3. And now let's do an image. So image source. And I think we're good for that. So I am a link. Yeah. Let's do another link here. So HTTP. I wonder if I need to do HTTPS, but google.com. Take me to Google. Let's do title somewhere. So when I hover, I'm gonna link take me to Google. Let's do a title on here. This doesn't actually take you to Google. So notice that href is used to direct you to a certain destination, you know. And then let's just create a simple table. I guess we can utilize dog or the animals and how many feet they have. Although I guess they all have 4. So, but let's use it anyway. So, so we'll create a table, and we'll close off this table, and then we'll create. We will create table head, and then a table body. And then within here, we will create a row and end that row. And then we will create a column here. And, oh, my bad. So here it actually has to be TH. Just signify that this is a header. So animal type. And animal name. And then here we'll do number of legs. And then here in the body of the table we'll do gr. We'll create a row and do create a column and call it dog. And the dog, let's say, has 4 legs. And now let's go. So now we created this row, so now we want to create a new row. And we will create another one that's another column. TD, close that TD tag. So remember TH for header, TD for column. So we'll create a TD tag here for cat. And then we'll say this cat has 5 legs. And then we'll create another row and 2 more columns. Create another row and 2 more columns, and we'll say mouse. And this mouse is a mutant mouse. And it has 6 legs. And then we will click save, just to save our work here. And I'm going to show some, I'll show all of the ones that I kind of went over. I have a file already to copy and paste with all of this stuff. So and then within this we will create a form. So let me just make this visually better. So the action, here you'll see this is a form tag. And within the form tag there's the action attribute and the method attribute. Now the method attribute doesn't have to be listed here because the method attribute does a post by default, but you could have it here, and then you could also do a get request here. We'll learn more about methods, the way to do methods later on in the course though. And then action is where is it making this post to? Like where is it, what page, what server-sided page is it submitting the data to, is what action is. And so here are a bunch of like inputs that we covered earlier. And so again, I'm going to save this. And now that this is all saved, let's take a look at it. I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to open up index.html. And whoa, this is a really big smiley face. So, I'm just refresh this. There we go. Much better. So as you can see, I determined how big this was by giving it a style tag here, which we'll go over in a later video. But here you can see that this is a paragraph, and you can see here that the paragraph has some margin around it. If you right click and you click inspect, this will come up, and then I right clicked directly on this and I clicked inspect, and so it took me straight there, straight to the paragraph tag. You can see that it has some margin around it. We'll go over this when we go over styling though, but just know that a paragraph tag has, you know, some spacing around it. Here you can see plain text. You can see the title, my title up here, before I forget. That was from that one. So here you can see my title, and this says my title up here. Here this says I'm a paragraph, I'm plain text, and then you can see that we went over to the new new row. Let me just close out of this. To the new line because of this line break that I put on here. You can see that I have hello world, my name is Gaston. Hello world, my name is Gaston. And you can see that world is in red. And here that's because of this. We have an unordered list with 3 list items of dog, cat, and mouse. And then we have a div tag here that is grouping all this together. So let's take a look real quick at the div tag and all these other elements. So you can see here in blue, when I hover over these, they don't take up the whole screen, like the whole width of the screen, like how this does. So a div tag does that. So a div tag, you can see that when I hover over this div tag, it's grouping all of these things together. And all of these things are things that I grouped together in here. So you can see that I grouped the I am bold and all the way over here, all the way onto take me to Google link, this. And so you can see that all this stuff is grouped together and that it's and that the display is blocked, which means that it takes up the entire row. Unlike a span over here that works similar in terms of grouping and styling things, but it doesn't take up the whole block. It's called an inline. And so yeah, and so I also want to show you guys how this over here is bold and this is bold too, even though they're 2 different tags, right? So this is a paragraph and a bolded paragraph, and this is a strong paragraph, and they both look the same. But just the way that screen readers read them is different. Same with the italics. So, and then I am a link, take me to Google. You see that if I hover it, the title comes up. This doesn't actually take you to Google. You can see that whenever I click the pound sign comes up here. So I'll click this. Watch up here, the pound sign will come up, and it doesn't actually take me anywhere. Take me to Google. I'll click it. Took me to Google. So check out my image. This is a header 1. This is header 3, which is a little bit bigger than normal text. We can make it anything from header 1 to header 6. As I stated before, here's an image tag. And then here is a table. And you can always specify a border around this and like grids and stuff like that. We'll go over that in the next section. But this is what the table looks like. And then here are the input elements within the form. So here's an email. So let's just submit. I guess we have to type. So if we submit, you can see here that it's doing an email validation. It wants me to put a valid email in here. What else do we have? We have a URL. So let's say this is a URL. I have to get rid of that. So it's having me enter a URL. So www.google.com. I think we have to put HTTP here. Yeah. So you can see that worked. This is a number. You can see that I'm not allowed to. I'm pressing letters right now. I'm not allowed. See that there's up and down buttons here. So you can type, and you can type yourself too. There's a range here. By default, I think this is range 0 through 100. I may be mistaken, but you can specify that like so. So you just say min equals 0 and max equals 100. Save, and then just reload the page. Just reload. And now the max and min is 0 through 100. Date pops up the calendar. You can also type in the date here manually, but it pops up the calendar. Date, time, local. You can select date and time. And then there's also just the time one. So instead of date, there's time. And you can just enter in the time if that's something that you want. Then we have the search. It's the same thing as the text box, just meant for searching. We have the color, so you can do stuff like this. So that's pretty cool. You have checkboxes. You have radio buttons. You have regular text box. We have an image here. What is this? Submit. So this is the submit button. This is supposed to be an image. Let's inspect it. It's supposed to be an image. So for this, you can actually do the same thing. So image. Not sure why it says submit, but anyway, so you can do image source. Then you can do the same thing here that you did. Just copy this. Put this in here. Let's see. Yeah. So here's an image. Password. So this is a password text box. You see that anything I type shows its dots to mask it. And then the submit button, which just submits the form. And another thing you can also do is, the input type of an actual button. That does the same thing. As a submit button, just doesn't actually submit the form. So here you can see that it's a button, but it's not actually posting back. Whereas this, you can see that my page here refreshes. But when I click this, it doesn't. So that's it for the HTML section. I hope that this helped you guys understand what HTML is and how to use it and how it's structured and the different types of tags that you can use. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments or let me know. Okay, thanks. Bye.